Before I even start, I just want to take a moment, and everybody can hear me, right? Okay. I think George gave a great speech with wonderful points, and I find it really interesting because everything I'm about to speak about connects directly to what you were speaking about, George. Because one of the things at the core of what he's speaking about is the very same thing that you were mentioning in your questions that we all believe in. Congress, government, is fundamentally flawed. Especially in this day and age, we are watching our government fail. Our Congress is failing when it comes to treaties, when it comes to legislation, and standing up for the issues that they've told us that we should elect them for. We are watching them fail. And we have a big question that comes up to us. And I heard you said it, and we've all said it. What do we do? How do we change that? What makes the difference? And you know what? That's something that's been plaguing me for, I would say, for me for decades, I'm sure for many of us, many decades, and no one has come up with a great answer. No one has gotten an answer that says, well, this will work. Here's something that will get it done. And I actually came back to myself thinking about that, and I said, why is it we can't find the answer? And it's because we're relying on the very same people to give us an answer that have caused the problem.
That's right.
You go back to Congress. Congress is not working, so have Congress fix Congress. No, that doesn't work. No, they can't fix themselves. And it's not even, and sadly, we are feeding into this problem when we re-elect people over and over again. So that made me think and brings me to why I'm here today and what I'm trying to do for everyone in this nation. Because this is nonpartisan. This doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican. It doesn't matter if you're young or old. It doesn't matter where you live in this nation. It affects everyone positively. This is a benefit to everyone. And I think I can't see an argument against this, except from, funny enough, Congress. But I'm going to step back from that and from this introduction. And I want to look at, let's take a look at recent history. Not too long ago, there was a New York, and I'm going to pick on New York because that's where we are. There was a New York senator. And this senator was in office for 8 years. Proposed 417 bills. And of those 417 bills that was proposed over 8 years, 3 were passed. Naming a post office, naming a historic site, naming part of a highway. That was the job that we got done. At the same exact time, over that same 8-year time period, 30,000 jobs were lost in New York. 30,000. Now, this give and take that we have there, well, that was what we were given. Here's the take. We paid, in our taxes, $1.4 million towards that one New York senator. 3 bills, a post office, naming a highway, a historic site. We lost 30,000 jobs in New York alone. And we paid out $1.4 million for that. $1.4 million for that. Doesn't that sound like a great deal? Now, I know someone will say, well, Mike, that's a little bit too far back, and if you think about it, you'll know exactly who that politician is. I don't need to mention it yet. But let's go to more recent history. Let's pick on the House of Representatives this time, okay? And we have a representative from New York in office for 5 years. And that representative has voted against the will of the public. That representative has voted against and argued with their own party, and attacked their own party. And that representative as well has passed all of 30, well, let me step back, proposed proposed 33 bills. Wow, really hard work there. And of those 33 bills in 5 years that have been proposed, 3 were passed. It seems to be a constant in New York.
Yeah, three's the number.
Yeah, and guess what they got? Guess what we got for those 3 bills?
Post
Post office, that's right. They always love to name post offices, don't they?
Yeah.
And we got 2 baseball coins. We got 2 bills for baseball coins. Anyone? I know we all love baseball, love the Yankees. Mets, let's see them go. And I'm happy for the Mets. Rather it be the Yankees. But even with that love of baseball that I grew up with in the Bronx, I'm still not satisfied with having 2 baseball coin bills against all the issues we're looking at in our government right now, in our nation, and facing our kids. But that's my personal opinion. But I can tell you, objectively, we paid that same representative $875,000 to date. $875,000 in 5 years for that one representative to pass 3 bills. And I don't think we all have baseball coins.
$875, how much a year is that?
It's $175,000 a year. That's the base salary for a member of Congress. And we have several members of Congress who are actively trying to increase their pay because they don't get paid enough. By the way, the average person in America only gets paid about 1/6 that amount.
That's right.
1/6 that amount. In New York State, the average person in New York. You okay? You okay? I'm more worried about you if you're okay. If you're going to be okay. Well, the average person in New York gets paid about $34,000. I'll say it again. $175,000 for the members of Congress. So that's a really huge difference. Now, I bring that up because I think it makes it very, very clear for us all. Congress, our government, is broken.
Yeah.
We have a problem. It's a big problem. And 77% of the nation, 77% of the nation agree Congress is not doing its job. The approval rate for Congress, the number of people, 300 million people, out of that total, approximately 14% believe Congress is doing its job right.
We all got both sections.
You know what? Well, the great thing about that is, when was the last time you saw that much consensus in America about anything? It's not partisan.
No.
It goes well beyond partisan. It has nothing to do with that. What this is something that we all feel, that we all understand. We see it every day and we know it. And I don't care who your congressman is, I don't care what party you're in, you agree. Congress is failing. Not Congress, this big amorphous thing. The people we elected and we re-elected. Because guess what? In 2014, 95% re-election rate. We put them in there and we kept them in there and they failed the first time and they're continuing to fail.
You gotta take them out.
Well, that seems to be really hard because, believe it or not, between, if you actually look at the numbers, it is more likely, or almost as likely, for a member of Congress to die than to be elected out of office. It is almost as likely for them to be convicted of a crime as be elected out of office.
But usually when they don't go lesser.
Well, no, and I know what you're saying. Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it. Everyone usually goes to this thing. Well, we have to pick the lesser of 2 evils. Who are we going to pick? We can't get Mickey Mouse, so if we all voted for Mickey Mouse, that's not going to solve it. And you're right. And that was the dilemma that we've all been facing. And that's the same thing we all say is, what am I going to do because I'm stuck? Let's get unstuck.
Oh, keep it.
And that's what I'm proposing here. Because I've written in front of you those 3 simple, plain English pages. I wrote this because we can write laws. Congress votes on law. That doesn't mean they make law. We can make law too. And in 3 simple, easy English pages, I believe I have addressed all of the, well, not all the concerns, but the key motivation to fixing Congress and taking into account one of the major problems in Congress at the same time. Now, as you're looking that over, let's address this. One of the key things, the Constitution, in the Constitution, what is the purpose of our Congress? To pass a budget. That is a requirement. It's not even an option. It is an obligation. They are required to pass a budget.
Have we done that?
And we would love to see them also balance the budget.
Right.
But let's pick one thing at a time, okay? If Congress cannot pass a budget, if they have a continuing resolution, they have failed their job. And that's where this bill, which is called the Congressional Accountability Pay Act, or I like to call it the C.A.P. Act, steps in. The C.A.P. Act is what the acronym says. It caps their pay. It attacks Congress at their pocket, and it makes a big difference in their lives. Okay? What the C.A.P. Act will do is it will cut the pay of every member of Congress. Not their base pay, their actual pay. Okay? So they can give themselves a raise, they can do whatever they want to do. But if they are not doing their job, they don't pass a budget, they don't balance the budget, they will have, each and every one of them, have their pay slashed to 2 times the average for their state. In New York State, as an example, we would see the 2 representatives I just mentioned. The Senate, one is a senator, one is a representative, one was a Democrat, one's a Republican. So bipartisan all the way. Every single one of them would go from $175,000 down to $60,000. $110,000 a year straight out of their pocket. It takes them from the top 5% of the nation and drops them down to about the middle to lower end of middle class. In other words, they become us. They have to pay the same bills we pay. They have to live the same lifestyle we live. They have to balance the book and say, how am I going to be able to pay for everything? Just like we do. It makes them accountable. It puts them where we are. And that's an important thing. Because now they are living our lives, even that little bit more. And they have to do what we do to balance our bills and go through and pay for their kids' school and do everything that we do. And that's what the C.A.P. Act is there for, to make them accountable, to take it, go right to their pocketbooks where they're going to feel it and say, if you cannot do your job, you don't deserve to get paid for your job. If you can't do everything you're supposed to do, you don't get paid everything you're supposed to get paid. The same thing every single American goes through every day. You don't do your job, you're not going to get paid for your job. Happens to us all. And that makes a big difference. And again, I want to make this really important because it's 2 times the state average. If your state is failing, if your income in your state, let's see, if you're like New York State where you have the biggest exodus ever, and you have 6 decades of people leaving your state and businesses leaving your state, that average is dropping down. You're obviously not doing something right to help your state and to help the nation when that's happening. Therefore, your pay is going to keep going down. And they lose their money from January 1st. So if we had the C.A.P. Act in place right now, January 1st, their pay became $60,000. That extra $110,000, by the way, everyone's wondering, what would happen with that money? because I took that into account. Because we know how Congress loves to have a slush fund. We're going to put some money over here, we'll borrow against it. Suddenly we have a new debt. And we're suddenly losing money again for something that we were supposed to be saving money on. Take that into account. The C.A.P. Act requires that every single dime that these members of Congress do not receive goes directly and solely to the IRS to pay, at that moment, the national debt.
Good.
If they're not going to do their job, no, they're not going to get paid. But you know what? The money was already allocated. Let's use it for something that's actually going to help us and our kids and our future. And you say to yourself, well, Mike, that doesn't make a whole lot of a difference, $100,000. Well, actually, if the C.A.P. Act were in place, we're talking about $58 million.
Right. There you go.
$58 million. Drop in the bucket for most things, but you know what? It makes a difference. It adds on. And that's every single year. How many decades? What, we've gone 18 years without a budget? 18 years at $58 million a year in savings?
We'd almost be halfway out of debt.
Well, it wouldn't be, but we'd be close. We'd be a lot closer than we are today.
A quarter of the way out of debt, maybe.
Wow. But, and this is penalizing their lack of performance. Mind you, again, if they do their job, we balance the budget, they're doing their job, they get paid. I'm not going to take away money from them for doing what they are supposed to do. We'll take the money away from them when they're not. But the C.A.P. Act is not just about balancing the budget, because it also addresses another major factor that we all have to look at. Since 2000, and I think you'll all find this very interesting, since the year 2000, 4.6% of the members of Congress lost their job because they were convicted. They were criminals. They broke the very laws that they're writing and that they are there to enforce. Whether it's bribery or other ethics violations, they went out there and they did the wrong thing. And I don't even want to add up and give you the number about how many people have gone out there and they have ethical violations. I forgot to file my taxes. Representative Charles Rangel, oh my, you mean I had a house in the Dominican Republic and in Florida for 10 years, worth $500,000 each, and I didn't report that? Oops. And that's about all he got. He got a censure, and you saw him stop him from doing anything? No. He continued to go forward. How do we make a serious impact on when you have politicians who can fight for almost a decade about whether or not they broke an ethical violation, who can go in and they have been indicted and they're going to jail? How do we fight this? How do we stop them from just abusing the system?
Why don't we just throw them out of office?
Well, we can throw them out of office, but you know what? How about another idea? Because not all of them are bad people. How about we motivate them? And that's where the C.A.P. Act steps in again. The Congressional Affordable Pay Act, the Congressional Accountable Pay Act steps in and says very clearly, if you don't pay your taxes, if you make a mistake, oops, on the taxes, if you are you make an ethical violation, or you are convicted of a crime, we're going to penalize you. Now, it's not going to be a little simple penalty either. We're going to take 2 times their pay. Since the day they were elected, since the day they walked into that office, and they're going to pay it all back. Charles Rangel, when he got his ethics violation in 2010, would have wound up paying $3 million on that day. $3 million because he broke violations, ethics violations. And I don't know how many, and of those other 4.6, you're talking about well over, for that group, 25 members of Congress. Combined,
each of them had on average, 12 years. 12 years at $100,000 apiece. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars that we are going to recover from each and every one of these members. They want to be there for 30 years? Fantastic. I believe in term limits, but if you're going to be there for 30 years until we can change that, fantastic. You did something wrong, we found out you did it, you're going to pay us back all the money. Why? You don't deserve the pay you received. You failed in your job. Your job was to uphold the law, not break it. Your job was to not abuse the law, but to make sure that you are enforcing it. It is very simple. You don't get paid for something you didn't do. It's our money. Pay us, give it back to us, and we're going to take that money again and put it to the national debt and pay that off. Let's put it to some actual good use. Let's put it to something that will actually have a positive impact on us. Now, that brings me to another thought that I think we all can imagine here. And that's very simply, Mike, the C.A.P Act will never get introduced into law. No one on Congress, no member of Congress is going to send this out to anyone. Well, that's kind of true. Yes. And by the way, I have sent out the exact copy you have in front of you right now, the exact same copy that is online right now, that is available to be downloaded by anyone in the nation. I've already been on the radio talking about it on WMBF. I've been on the internet. I've been on Facebook. I'm here with you today, and I'm going to continue to keep talking about this. I'm going to keep pressing this. I've already sent it out to half of the Republican nominees for the candidates for the presidential election. Half of them. I don't need to name them by name. Actually, yeah, sure I will. I sent it out to Trump. I sent it to Carson. I sent it to Cruz. I sent it to Rand. I sent it to my favorite Representative Hanna. I sent it to Schumer. I sent it to Gillibrand. Yeah, I ran down the list. And I'll send it to any other, and if I can get the name of a representative in Congress, I don't care whether they're a senator or a representative, if they've been there 50 years or if they've been there 1 week, I will send it to them too, as soon as I get a way to get to them. I will send it to their homes, I'll send it anywhere that they can get it and read it. And I'll keep sending it until they do.
What about the head of the Republican Party?
And Rivas, Prince Rivas, I have to get it to him.
And other New York City too.
Oh yeah, but I'm not done, because here's the thing. I don't want this just to be me, because they're going to ignore one voice. They're going to ignore one guy, no matter how much I shout everywhere. But guess what? Remember, we write laws. We are the power of the government. How do we answer all the questions we had before? Stop going to Congress. We are the solution. 100,000 people altogether send out this to every one of their congressmen, to their senator, to your representative. That's all it takes, with a couple simple words on there. Pass this, or I won't re-elect you. Do you want to see people running around scared like chickens without heads? If you've ever seen anything that you've ever noticed about politicians, they love their jobs and they want to keep them. In fact, there was a recent publication, there was a research report. Do you know how many times you have to say something online? How many people you need to say something online, on Twitter or Facebook, to be able to get the attention of a member of Congress? 30. Yeah, they're paying attention. They're listening. Because every single one person who goes on to Twitter and says something, for every one person who goes on to Facebook, there's another 1,000, maybe 10,000 who believe exactly what you said, and they just didn't do it. They know if there's a consensus, if there's a trend, if 30 people on Twitter are talking about the same exact thing, a lot of people believe that. A lot of people who aren't on Twitter believe that, and they jump on it. They start paying attention. They start changing the way they talk, and they start addressing the issue. Just enough to get reelected.
But will they change the way they act?
Well, yeah, they will, because if we have 100,000 people in just New York State, my goal, my hope, my target, what I want everyone here to help me try and do, if we can get 1 million, maybe 10 million people, it can be done. A cat video on the internet can get 15 million hits. We can get 1 million people to send this out to members of Congress. Because we all, at the end of the day, we all agree with this. You don't deserve to be paid for not doing your job. You don't deserve to get paid for breaking the law. Especially when that pay is coming out of our pockets. It is coming out of your pocket. This is your money.
That's right.
This is my money, this is your money, this is our money. So all we're saying is, give us our money's worth. Do the bare minimum of your job and don't break the law. I'm not asking for a lot here. It's pretty basic, and we're all asking for that. And I believe we can get 1 million people to put this out and get this into each member of Congress. And I think that we get 1 million people, we get 100,000 people, we're going to see this on the newspapers. You're going to see Fox News, you're going to see NPR, you're going to see every news media station say, why are all these people sending this bill? Why are they out there getting this document? What does it do? What is this C.A.P Act thing? And at that moment, everyone in the nation knows about it, which is my goal. And everyone in the nation is saying, hey, maybe the C.A.P Act's not perfect. Maybe we can tweak it. That's fine. But you know what? It's the right idea. Let's motivate Congress again. Let's get them doing their job and not breaking the law. I think that's a kind of good idea. I think we can get behind that bipartisan. I don't think there's anyone who's going to run for president and say, well, no, I don't really think that's a great idea. Let's leave Congress all screwed up and criminal. I don't think they'll say that. And all it takes is you all have a copy right now. Photocopy it. Give it to a friend. Give it to 5 friends. Ask those friends. If you agree with that, if you think that we should not pay Congress for not doing their job, if you think that we should not pay Congress with the money in your pocket for breaking the law, pass this to another 5 people. Send it with those words. Pass this or I won't re-elect you. They will jump to make some bill that is either this or very close to it because they want to stay in their job. They like $175,000 a year without accountability to be able to just not do their job. Well, we have the power to stop that. And it's that simple. It really is that simple. And it goes back to the root of it. I don't want Congress to fix Congress. I'm going to fix Congress. And that's all it takes. And this is all it takes. And I ask people, it's online, you can download it. And you have copies, you can mail them, you can email them, you can fax them, you can send it any way you want, I don't care. Just as long as they get that and they get that message from all of us. That will make the difference. That is the true power of the C.A.P Act. And one of the things I want to say about that is, because I know it's eventually going to come up and someone's going to say it, and I want to address it very clearly. There's one thing on the C.A.P Act that you won't see. One thing that's very clear about it. It doesn't have my name. This is not about my ego. I'm not running for an office. I'm not asking anyone to do anything because Michael Vasquez said so. I'm not saying do this because I'm a great guy and I should get elevated. I don't want attention. I don't want to be on the media. I don't care. This is not about me. This is about the C.A.P Act. That's why it has that name. Because it's about Congress and accountability and being able to make sure that they are getting paid for their job. It has nothing to do with me. I don't care what member of Congress goes out there. Take this bill, put your name on it, and run with it. Let history forever say that Charles Schumer passed the C.A.P Act. I don't care. I want to see the bill done. This is what is important. It's not about ego. And we have lots and lots of politicians who love to do things about their ego. Matter of fact, you saw one on the news just last week, Wednesday. We've heard about him since. That's ego.
Yeah.
I'm not here for ego. I'm here for action. I'm here to fix the problem. And I believe I have the answer that does fix the answer. That does fix the question. And I think it is that simple. Occam's razor. The simple answer is almost always right. Well, we've tried the hard way. Re-electing people, putting in different people who promise us everything under the sun. It hasn't worked. 40, 50, 60 years has not worked. Time to go back to basics. We write the law, it's written. We get the people to say, pass the law. It gets passed. They either do their job or they don't get paid.
Right.
That's what I wanted to speak with you about tonight, and I believe it's very powerful. I think it's very important.